Most of us learned how to ride from friends, old manuals, or habits passed down for decades. You warm it up, you trust your instincts, you do what always worked. But motorcycles in 2026 do not work the way they used to. Today, we are exposing the myths that are quietly destroying engines, draining bank accounts, and putting experienced riders in hospital beds. If you think you already know all this, stay with me, because one of these mistakes is probably costing you right now. Number 25. Warming up by idling protects the engine. If you still let your bike sit there idling for 10 minutes to warm it up, you are not protecting anything, you are slowly hurting it. That habit comes from the carburetor days, when engines needed choke time and oil moved like cold honey. Modern motorcycles use fuel injection, tight engine mapping, and multi-grade oil that starts circulating almost immediately. And here is the part most riders miss. Long idling warms the motor unevenly. It encourages carbon buildup, wastes fuel, and can even thin your oil with raw gas over time. The right move is simple. Start it, let it settle, then ride gently until it is fully up to temp. But here's where many riders make the next mistake. When they finally decide to stop idling, they compensate by twisting the throttle. Hard. They assume modern engines can handle it. They cannot. And that brings us to the next myth. One that damages pistons and valves before most riders even leave their driveway. Number 24. Revving a cold engine is harmless. Some riders fire up a cold bike and immediately snap the throttle. Just a quick blip, maybe two. It sounds healthy, confident, mechanical. It is not. When an engine is cold, the oil is thicker and still working its way through tight internal passages. Bearings, cam journals, piston skirts. They are not fully protected yet. Crack the throttle at that moment and you spike load, friction, and cylinder pressure before proper lubrication stabilizes. Metal expands with heat, but it expands evenly only when warmed gradually. Sudden high revs create uneven thermal stress that adds microscopic wear every single time. You will not see the damage today. You will notice it years later. Lower compression, oil consumption, valve noise. And if any of these myths sound familiar to you, hit the like button, drop a hype in the comments, and subscribe. Because that is exactly what keeps us bringing you the kind of straight-up rider safety and money advice that actually works. So now the engine is warm and running, but this is where riders step into the next costly habit. They stop worrying about temperature and start worrying about brake pads. And that is exactly when they begin sacrificing something far more expensive than brakes. Number 23. Engine braking saves money. Rolling off the throttle and letting the engine slow, the bike feels disciplined, controlled, efficient, and yes, engine braking has its place. But treating it like a financial strategy, that is where the myth creeps in. Modern motorcycles are built with powerful braking systems designed to absorb speed safely. Brake pads are sacrificial components. They are meant to wear. They are inexpensive compared to clutches, transmissions, and internal engine parts. Rely too heavily on aggressive downshifting to save your pads, and you transfer load into the gearbox and clutch assembly, parts that cost thousands to repair. Saving brake wear feels mechanical and logical, but the next belief does not just wear parts, it removes control entirely. Because some riders take efficiency one step further and disconnect the engine from the road at the worst possible moment. Number 22. Coasting in neutral saves fuel. This one sounds clever. Drop it into neutral on a downhill. Coast toward a stoplight. Less resistance, less fuel, right? That might have worked on old carbureted machines. Not anymore. Modern fuel-injected motorcycles use deceleration fuel cutoff. When you close the throttle in gear, the system can reduce fuel flow to almost nothing while the bike slows. But shift into neutral and the engine must idle, and idling always burns fuel. So the fuel-saving trick often does the opposite. Worse, you give up engine braking and immediate throttle response. If traffic stops suddenly, you have added hesitation where you needed control. On motorcycles costing $5, $10, even $25,000, risking stability to save pennies makes no sense. And if you have ever coasted in neutral thinking it was helping your mileage, hit like and tell us in the comments when you learned it was not worth the risk. because your experience might stop another rider from making the same mistake. And once control is gone, riders start searching for protection somewhere else. And that leads directly to the next dangerous assumption: replacing riding strategy with noise and hoping sound will do the job of awareness. Number 21. Loud pipes keep you safe. This one gets defended hard. Loud pipes save lives. It is printed on shirts, stickers, gas tank talk at every meetup. But here is the part nobody wants to hear. Sound projects mostly behind the motorcycle. The exhaust points rearward, and noise spreads outward and back, not forward into the lane of the driver about to turn left in front of you. Inside modern cars, windows up, music playing, insulation thick, your exhaust is background noise at best. Positioning, lane discipline, lighting, and anticipation prevent collisions. Volume does not. And then there is the money. Quality exhaust systems can run well over $1,000. Add tuning to avoid lean fueling issues, and the bill climbs fast. If noise truly reduced crash rates, insurance premiums would reflect it. They do not. They just feel like safety, right up until braking becomes unavoidable. That is where the next myth becomes critical, because many riders distrust the very system designed for that exact emergency. Number 20. ABS makes stopping longer. Here is a myth that just will not die. ABS makes stopping longer. It has been passed down from old school riders, past braking tech, and rare off-road situations. But on modern street motorcycles, it is flat out wrong. ABS, anti-lock braking system, monitors wheel speed and pulses brake pressure hundreds of times per second to prevent lockup. The result: tires stay on the edge of maximum grip instead of skidding out. On paved roads, ABS usually reduces stopping distance and dramatically improves stability during emergency stops. Crash studies, including research cited by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, show ABS-equipped bikes are far less likely to be in fatal accidents. And the cost: bikes today range from around $5,000 to nearly $28,000. One crash can wipe out thousands. So disabling ABS, that is the real expensive mistake. But some riders disable electronics out of fear. Others trust them too much, and the next mistake lives at that opposite extreme. Because believing technology cannot help is dangerous, but believing it cannot fail is worse. Number 19. Traction control prevents crashes. Now we are entering a modern comfort myth. Traction control is advanced, precise, and valuable, but it does not prevent crashes. It monitors wheel speeds. If the rear spins faster than the front, it trims power. That is it. It cannot increase tire grip. It cannot fix a reckless entry speed. It cannot save you from gravel, diesel, cold rubber, or abrupt mid-corner braking. And here is where riders get hurt. Confidence inflation. Believing the electronics have you covered changes behavior. Throttle gets heavier. Entry speed creeps up. Risk tolerance expands. Experienced owners understand this clearly. Rider aids are backup systems. They assist mistakes caused by throttle input, not judgment errors. Technology supports skill. It does not replace it. And after trusting electronics, riders often trust mass next. They assume weight equals stability, and that assumption changes how they choose machines, right before it changes how quickly they can avoid impact. Number 18. Heavier bikes are safer. This one sounds logical. More weight, more stability, more protection. But safety is not measured in pounds. Yes, a heavy touring machine feels planted in a straight line, but crashes rarely happen in perfect straight lines. They happen during swerves, panic stops, tight turns, and low-speed corrections. And weight works against you there. More mass means more momentum. More momentum means longer stopping distances, slower direction changes, harder recoveries when balance shifts unexpectedly. In urban traffic or emergency avoidance, lighter motorcycles are often easier to control precisely. Experienced riders understand this. Stability is situational. Control is universal. The safest motorcycle is not the heaviest one. It is the one you can maneuver instantly, brake confidently, and correct without hesitation. Be honest, if you have ever felt safe on a heavy bike and later realized it limited your reaction time, hit like and drop your memory in the comment. That tells us you want more real-world riding truth, not comfort myths. But when the machine feels solid, confidence rises. And that confidence leads to the next trap, the belief that years ridden automatically equal skill maintained. Number 17, experience eliminates the need for training. This one is uncomfortable because it targets veterans. I have been riding 20 years. I learned the hard way. I do not need a course. But miles do not automatically update skill. Motorcycles in 2026 are not the machines of decades past. They have lean-sensitive ABS, ride-by-wire throttles, multi-level traction control, electronic suspension. Without current training, many riders never fully understand how these systems behave at the limit, and here is the pattern crash investigators see. Confidence rises, deliberate practice fades, skills degrade, reactions slow, habits calcify, advanced training costs a few $100s. One avoidable crash can cost thousands or more. Experienced riders who stay sharp understand one thing clearly: skill is perishable, mastery requires maintenance, and pride has no protective value. But once riders trust experience over learning, they start trusting tradition over specification. That is where the next expensive habit appears: pouring money into the tank based on belief instead of chemistry. Number 16, premium fuel gives more power. This myth quietly drains money. Higher octane sounds stronger. More expensive must mean more performance. Not how it works. Octane measures resistance to knock, not energy content. It prevents uncontrolled combustion in high compression engines. If your motorcycle is engineered for premium, you must use it. If it is designed for regular, premium adds nothing. The ECU will not create horsepower just because the fuel costs more. For most standard motorcycles, running higher octane than required produces zero measurable gain, only higher receipts. And the mistake cuts both ways. Use regular in an engine that demands premium, and you risk detonation damage. Experienced owners do one simple thing: they follow the manufacturer octane recommendation. And that is why fuel myths cost money at every fill-up. But the next one costs something far worse: internal wear you will not notice until it is permanent. Because what riders choose to pour into the engine next matters more than what they put into the tank. Number 15, synthetic oil ruins wet clutches. For decades, riders were told synthetic oil makes wet clutches slip. That warning came from the 1980s, and it refuses to die. Here's the truth: synthetic isn't the problem. Wrong oil is. The myth started with automotive energy-conserving oils. Those can contain friction modifiers that absolutely can glaze a clutch. But motorcycle oils, conventional or synthetic, that meet JASO ME or MA2 standards, don't use those additives. That's why so many modern bikes leave the factory on synthetic or synthetic blends. A quality oil change might run $50 to $80. A clutch job? Easily $800 to $2,500, plus resale value dropping fast if it slips. So don't fear synthetic, fear bad specs. And speaking of expensive misunderstandings, the next myth makes riders waste money every time they fill up. Number 14, short rides are gentle on engines. A lot of riders think they're being kind to their bike with short, easy trips. 5 minutes to the store, 10 minutes around the neighborhood. Start it, move it, shut it off. Feels harmless. It isn't. Until the engine reaches full temperature, fuel doesn't burn clean, moisture doesn't evaporate, and condensation collects inside the crankcase. That water mixes with oil and turns into sludge and acids, the kind that quietly eats bearings, rings, and cylinder walls. Even exhaust systems rot from the inside when they never heat soak. That's why only ridden around town bikes often look clean and run terrible. A rebuild can cost thousands. The fix is simple: ride long enough to fully warm everything. And if you think that's expensive, wait until you see what neglect does to your chain. Because at least internal moisture is invisible. But the next mistake isn't. It's hanging right there in plain sight, spinning thousands of times per minute, and riders still ignore it until the bill arrives. Number 13, chain lubrication is optional. Somewhere along the way, riders started repeating a lazy little lie. It's a sealed chain. You don't need to lube it. And that myth has eaten drivetrains alive. Yes, O-ring and X-ring chains hold grease inside. But lube isn't mainly for the pins. It's for the seals and the sprockets. Without it, those rings dry out, crack, and let grit in. Then you get tight spots, jerky power delivery, and a chain that starts snapping teeth off sprockets like it's chewing candy. And when a chain fails, it doesn't just come off. It can lock the rear wheel, punch a hole in your engine case, or put you on the pavement. A chain kit is a few $100. A broken case is thousands. A dry chain destroys itself slowly. But the next belief destroys your wallet immediately. Because once maintenance anxiety sets in, many riders hand over control and thousands of dollars without asking the right questions. Number 12. Dealer service is required for warranty. This myth survives for one reason: it makes people money. If you don't service it at the dealership, your warranty is void. Sounds official, sounds intimidating, and in the United States, it's mostly nonsense. Under the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act, a manufacturer can't force you to use a dealership or branded parts to keep coverage, unless they're handing it to you for free. What they can require is proof the work was done correctly and on schedule. That difference matters, because dealership labor can run well over $100 an hour, and a simple oil service can hit $300 fast. Do it yourself with quality parts, and you're often under $100. Smart owners keep receipts, log mileage, and follow the manual. Dealer dependency feels like insurance until the bill arrives. Seeking relief, riders swing to the opposite extreme, buying performance parts online and bolting them on without a second thought. But without tuning or research, these upgrades lead straight to the next danger: cooking engines from the inside out. Number 11. Aftermarket parts always improve performance. This myth sticks around because aftermarket parts look legit. CNC machined, anodized, racing logos. The whole vibe screams upgrade, so riders assume if it's aftermarket, it must be better. Sometimes sure, but modern motorcycles are tuned as complete systems: airbox, exhaust, fueling, ignition, electronics, all validated through brutal testing. When you bolt on a random pipe or intake without matching calibration, you often get the opposite of performance: lean fueling, hot running temps, flat throttle response, and reliability that quietly starts slipping away. And the money trap is real. A slip-on can cost over $1,000. Add an ECU flash, a fuel controller, and dyno time, and you're suddenly 2,000 deep. Worst case, burned valves, cooked pistons, huge repair bills. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever installed an exhaust, intake, or performance part expecting gains, and ended up with problems, tuning headaches, or extra costs instead? Drop your story in the comments, because riders learn more from real wins and real regrets than from any AD or forum post. Suffer in silence while riders obsess over horsepower. But while they're busy chasing dyno numbers, they often ignore the only component actually touching the road. They see plenty of tread and assume safety. But as our next myth proves, old rubber can betray you long before it looks worn out. Number 10. Tire grip depends only on tread depth. A tire can look perfect, deep grooves, no cords, no drama, and still be a hazard waiting to happen, because tread depth is only the visible part. Real traction comes from the rubber compound, and rubber is chemistry. Over time, the oils in the tire migrate out, the surface hardens, and tiny cracks begin forming even if the tread still looks healthy. That's why brands like Michelin, Bridgestone, Pirelli, Dunlop, and Continental all warn that age matters. Most tire engineers consider 5 to 6 years from the dot date a realistic service life, regardless of how good it looks. And when old rubber lets go, it doesn't always give you a warning wiggle. It just releases. New tires cost a few hundred. A single slide can cost thousands. Now let's talk about the myth that makes riders ruin grip on purpose. Because old rubber loses grip silently, but the next mistake reduces grip deliberately. Because in the pursuit of mileage or efficiency, some riders shrink the very contact patch that keeps them upright. Number 9. Higher tire pressure improves efficiency. This one sounds smart. Harder tire, less rolling resistance, better gas mileage. Clean logic. And on a motorcycle, It's a trap. Your tire pressure isn't a personal preference. It's an engineered window. That range balances contact patch, carcass flex, heat and grip. Push past it and you don't suddenly become more efficient. You become easier to slide. Overinflation shrinks the contact patch, makes the ride skittish over bumps, and cuts traction when the pavement is cold, wet, or imperfect, which is most roads in the real world. Any fuel savings are usually pennies. The loss of control can be life-changing. And it gets worse. High pressure often wears the center faster, meaning you buy tires sooner anyway. So don't chase efficiency, chase stability. But the next myth destroys that confidence completely, because modern tires don't always warn you before they let go. Number 8, you can feel tire grip limits. A lot of experienced riders say this like it's wisdom. I'll feel it before it lets go. And that confidence has dumped a shocking number of good riders on the pavement. Modern tires have insane grip, high silica compounds, multi-compound construction, and sticky profiles from brands like Michelin, Pirelli, Bridgestone, Dunlop, and Continental deliver traction older riders never had. But here's the trade-off. Many of today's street tires don't give a slow, polite warning at the edge. Sometimes there's no gentle drift, no talking, just a clean breakaway, cold asphalt, paint lines, diesel sheen, a bump mid-corner. You don't feel the limit, you cross it. That's why IMU-based rider aids exist. Human reflexes can't keep up. But once fear of traction sets in, riders start blaming machine size. That's where the next misconception grows, assuming safety comes from displacement instead of discipline. Number 7, small bikes are unsafe on highways. This myth sounds caring. Get a bigger bike so you'll be safer. But engine size doesn't decide highway safety, skill and strategy do. Modern small displacement. Bikes aren't the wheezing machines people remember. A Kawasaki Ninja 400, Yamaha R3, Honda CBR 500R, or KTM RC 390 can cruise at 70 to 85 miles per hour, pass traffic, and stay stable doing it. They've got real brakes, real tires, and a BS, not excuses. What actually makes highways dangerous? Blind spots, bad lane choice, fatigue, speed gaps, distracted drivers. None of that gets fixed by 150 horsepower. In fact, bigger bikes add weight, higher repair costs, and higher insurance. A well-ridden small bike beats a poorly managed big one every time. But if the bike isn't the answer, riders look to equipment next. And that's where price tags start masquerading as protection. Number 6, expensive gear means better protection. Some riders believe the higher the price, the higher the safety. If it costs $1,000, it must protect me better. That logic feels safe until it doesn't. Motorcycle gear is measured by certification, not fashion. Jackets, pants, and armor tested to CEAA standards prove abrasion resistance, seam strength, and impact absorption. The numbers that actually matter in a crash. A $300 CEAA jacket can outperform a $1,200 designer piece built more for style than survival. Helmets rated DOT and ECE 22.06 offer real protection at a fraction of the cost. The extra money often pays for paint, ventilation, lightweight materials, and comfort, not crash resistance. Riders who wait for top-tier gear risk riding unprotected today. Protection first, fit second, logo last. Gear might protect you after a crash. The next myth determines whether you crash at all, because what your fingers are doing mid-corner matters more than what logo is on your jacket. Number 5, covering the front brake in corners is safer. You've heard it before. Keep 2 fingers on the front brake when you enter a corner. It shortens reaction time, makes you safer, sounds smart, feels proactive. It can also put you on the pavement. No major modern rider training program teaches covering the front brake mid-corner as a default habit. Why? Because traction is finite. When you lean, your tires are already spending grip to hold that arc. Add sudden brake pressure, and you're asking that same patch of rubber to do 2 jobs at once. That's how front tires wash out. Smooth braking before turn-in is stable. Abrupt input while leaned is not. Yes, advanced riders use trail braking, but that's controlled, progressive, and practiced. Not panic squeezing. Technology like modern ABS can help. Physics still wins. Cornering mistakes happen in seconds. But the next belief shapes years of ownership decisions. Because many riders buy more motorcycle than they can manage, thinking distance demands size. Number 4, touring requires large motorcycles. For decades, riders were told one thing: if you want to cross state lines, you need a massive touring bike. Big engine, big fairing, big price tag. That belief stuck, even as motorcycles evolved. Here's what changed. Modern middleweight machines now offer real wind protection, luggage systems, cruise control, rider modes, and long-range fuel capacity without tipping the scales at 900 pounds. Bikes like the Suzuki V-Strom 650 XT or the Kawasaki Versys 650 can handle highways, mountain passes, and week-long trips comfortably. Meanwhile, heavyweight tourers demand more strength at parking lot speeds, longer braking distances, and higher insurance premiums. On a 10-hour ride, fatigue matters more than displacement, comfort, balance, manageable weight. That's what carries you across the country, not cubic inches. And heavy machines also bring comfort and sometimes fear, which leads to the next overreaction, assuming one minor drop means structural catastrophe. Number 3, frames bend easily after drops. Let me save you a few $1,000s and a sleepless night. Your bike tips over in a parking lot and suddenly someone whispers, "Hope the frame's not bent." Panic sets in. Here's reality. Modern motorcycles use high-strength steel trellis, designs an aluminum twin spar chassis built to survive forces far beyond a 0-mile-per-hour tip over. A stationary drop almost never warps the main structure. What actually takes the hit? Levers, mirrors, foot pegs, fairings, engine covers. Parts designed to sacrifice themselves. A true frame replacement can cost several $1,000s and often totals a bike. But that follows high-energy crashes, not driveway mishaps. Experienced owners inspect alignment, forks, and controls before jumping to conclusions. Engineering today is tougher than internet rumors. If this video has helped you think differently about your riding, click like. And if you want early access to deep dive safety content, becoming a member is the best way to support this channel. And once riders learn the frame is stronger than they thought, relief sets in. And that relief creates the next danger, assuming modern reliability means reduced responsibility. Number 2, modern bikes need minimal maintenance. Fuel injection, ride-by-wire, traction control, long service intervals. So riders start believing something dangerous. Today's motorcycles basically take care of themselves. They don't. Modern engines are smoother, yes, more precise, tighter tolerances, higher compression, and far less forgiving when ignored. A machine like the Honda CBR 650R or the Yamaha MT-09 runs clean and refined even when maintenance is overdue. That's the trap. There's no coughing carburetor, no obvious warning. Meanwhile, oil breaks down, valves drift out of spec, brake fluid absorbs moisture, chains stretch, skip service long enough, and the repair bill doesn't come in hundreds. It comes in thousands. Experienced owners don't wait for symptoms. They follow schedules. They inspect proactively. They treat reliability as earned, not guaranteed. Because the final myth? It's the one seasoned riders believe the most. Number 1, experience does not prevent crashes. This is the hardest truth to accept and the most important. Experience does not make you invincible. It reduces risk. It hones awareness. It sharpens judgment, but it does not make you immune. The moment a rider thinks, "I've been riding 20 years, I won't crash," complacency slips in quietly. Look at the machines we ride today. A 2026 BMW S 1000 SRR starts near $17,895 new, while clean used 2023 to 2024 models sell around $14,000 to $16,500. A 2026 Ducati Panigale V, 2 lists $15,995, with used 2022 to 2024 examples between $12,500 and $14,500. Even experienced riders crash. Faster acceleration, sharper braking. Lean-sensitive ABS. Traction control help, but physics still rules. The best riders refresh skills, train regularly, inspect tires, and respect that every corner remains unpredictable. Experience is only powerful when paired with humility, because the road does not care how long you've been riding. If this video made you question even one habit, don't stop here. Click the next video and keep building the kind of knowledge that protects your bike, your money, and your life. Join our tribe by subscribing. If you want early access and deeper breakdowns, become a member.